Hi, it's Tanya from Trauma Talk, and I decided to do it a little bit differently this week. Last week I recorded the video first, and then I tried to transfer it from the video into text through one of those speech to text apps, and that didn't really work. Instead, it just created a lot of anxiety, and it was so garbled, and it was difficult to decipher what it was saying. So it just, kept looming there in the background, this thing that I had to do. I had to convert it from the video into the text. And eventually I just decided to let it go. And sometimes we actually have to let things go because they're not necessarily good for us. And I realized that there was no sense in adding that stress and negativity onto me. For what? I was the one that was ultimately in control of the video, of the podcast, of the blog, of all of it. It's me, and it's something that I do when I feel good or when I have a little bit of time. I reach out to people and I try to offer them a shoulder, or I try to offer them some kindness, because I know what it's like to feel alone. And I know right now, because of the pandemic and the isolation and the way that society is, there's a lot of us that are feeling alone, and we're all quite similar in what we want. So anyway, I decided that I would just forage on, and this week I would go back to the original method, which is to type out my blog and then record it. And then through the recording, I end up giving a little bit of extra because I don't spend my whole time looking at what I've written. So it's not an exact copy of the blog. So there's a little bit of benefit of reading both, because I probably stay on task a little bit better in the actual blog. And but with the video, you get lots of little extra things that maybe I didn't think about, or it just flows in a different way. So I'm just going to check and do a little tiny bit and make sure that I haven't missed anything. So anyway, one of the things was like that I was thinking about this past week is how this wasn't exactly where I thought I would be. And I think that was causing a lot of stress for me, and the fact that I wasn't acknowledging it, and I still really haven't acknowledged the effects of what have happened. I kind of turned my boat, as I would say, or as you could say, I turned my boat towards a different direction, and that's how I dealt with it, rather than acknowledging the fact that that I was heard or that I was bothered. I just kept trying to stifle it in a way, and I'm not quite sure why, because I know that stifling emotions is unhealthy, and I know that through all of my trauma recovery, one of the best things that you can do for yourself is sit with your emotions and honor them, recognize them. You can do some reflection and understand where they come from, right? And when we understand where the source of them is, then that's when we can really get into healing. So I was kind of surprised that I recognized that I've kind of stifled it down quite a bit and not really allowed it out. And so I'm going to work on that a little bit more. I thought I'd be back at work, and I was really kind of looking forward to it, because I had this new mental health toolkit, and I'd never been at work with that mindset that I have now. I've never been in that leadership position feeling as healthy as I'd been feeling. So it was something that was, it was exciting. It was interesting. I mean, there was a little bit of fear, because whenever you go through changes, that sometimes people respond well and then sometimes people don't. So I had that fear a little bit, but for the most part, I was just so excited about the fact that I got to be me with this new perspective on my mental health, and this new toolkit that I had, these calming techniques, being healthier, having good routines and practices in place, an excellent schedule that I had worked hard to get into, and all these healthy habits. So when that got sidetracked, it was a little bit of taking the wind out of the sails. But I was looking forward to, you know, I knew there were quite a few people that could benefit with some of the tools that I had in my toolkit, and I thought that would be really exciting to teach to all these nurses and staff. And because I had absorbed so many of these different mindfulness and grounding techniques, I had a lot that I felt that I could share, and I was looking forward to that because teaching is one of the things that I really enjoy about the role that I have. So yeah, and I think I mentioned that in the last video about the whole teaching component. I think we should just understand sometimes we have little personal qualities that just make us a little better in certain areas, and there's nothing wrong with that. So when I wasn't able to go back, that changed everything, and my body's not been responding very kindly. I have a functional neurological disorder, which means that I get symptoms of MS when I am under stress, depending on the stress level or how long I'm under that particular amount of stress. Depends on the severity of the symptoms or how much my body shuts down. And I've been managing to keep it fairly decent from crumbling, which is good. And that's because of those tools like meditation and calming and grounding techniques. But it is a battle when the stack that you carry gets heavier and heavier. So you have to be kind with yourself when you recognize that that's something that's happening. So now my body is just being a bit more uncooperative and saying that it doesn't want me to go in a specific direction, or it won't let me function in a certain way. Like I can't make a phone call into a certain place. Like I freeze up. And I know there's other people out there that have that same thing. Some of us is applied to general. We just generally have an issue making phone calls, having panic kick up. But for some, if there's a trauma trigger or a PTSD trigger, it can actually cause your body to shut down and become unresponsive. You just can't control it to do anything. And so I'm working through that, and I'm not sure how long it'll take me to get through that, but hopefully soon. But I'll keep you posted. So it's a little bit different when I'm doing the stuff that I'm doing, like trauma talk, or when I do my calm space workshop. I'm putting on a 20-minute video, or however long this one's going to be, and I can pick whatever time in the day that I'm doing this, and I can make it fit with when my body feels calm. I can spend 2 hours singing songs and getting my nervous system to be in a calm state, and then spend a half an hour making a video. So I get to control my environment a bit more. So that's one of the benefits of, I guess, doing this type of thing. But it's important to recognize that it's just a snapshot. It's just a very small glimpse in a 24-hour period of someone's life. And we need to recognize that, not only for our own mental health, but for just the benefit of being kind to other people. Sorry, I have a tickle in my throat. Instead, we put a smile on. We hide the pain. We hide the tears. We all do it. We wear these masks in public. We don't let people know what's really going on under the surface. And I mean, why would we? Oftentimes when people say, hi, how are you? All they want is the garbled response of good, great, awesome, fine, okay. They don't want to really know your life story, because they are dealing with their own stuff and tend to be quite busy and preoccupied. So they just want that little bit of the surface, I'm fine. So we end up spending a lot of the time not addressing how we're actually feeling, not being honest or not being vulnerable or not sharing, and not finding that connection that we need in order to overcome a lot of what we need to overcome. We just pull up our boots and we march on day after day and in the same circle, and we play happy, but most times we're just existing in our circle life, right? When you think about when you were a kid and you would run outside and jump in puddles, or you'd blow bubbles, or you'd color, or you'd jump rope, or you'd go play with friends, like you're constantly moving and from one activity to the next, and you'd go find something else that made you happy. I mean, at least we did when we were kids. I think with the technology advancements that we're having, kids aren't necessarily experiencing the same creativity that we used to have to do as children when we were told to get outside and go find something to do. But that's something we need to get back to. Instead, we absorb ourselves in endless toxicity and negativity. We watch news, we watch politics, we watch dramas, we watch TV and movies that spike our nervous systems, because when we're watching it, as much as we think that we're de-stressing and disconnecting and just, vegging out, our systems don't exactly respond like that. When we're watching an assault on TV and we're fully invested in it, our nervous system spikes up as though we've been attacked. When we jump back, that's us responding to that stimuli, and that's what's happening when we're watching TV. So we're actually not relaxing like we think we are. And then when you get into video games, and I mean, I'm not criticizing video games because I was a gamer. I love it. I still play Rock Band all the time, and I justify it because I'm singing, so I consider it to be music lessons or stress relief, or I'm using it to keep my nervous system stable in a polyvagal type of way. But when we're watching or playing video games, we're getting that constant stimuli of a reward. So we complete a level, we get a reward. And same thing with the games on our phone. It doesn't have to be on a gaming system, but we keep getting those rewards. We go up a level, we get money, we collect money, we get a reward. Our systems give us a big reward saying you've met some kind of an achievement. Like you get the diamond achievement on your Xbox for some kind of big achievement. All of those things, they keep triggering our reward system, and then we take ourselves outside of the video game. Life doesn't do that. We don't get a reward for taking out the garbage. We don't get a reward for going to work necessarily. We get a lot of stress when we go to work, but do we get the reward, right? And you can say, well, maybe the money, and fine, maybe there's something that can be said from getting rewards from going to work, but for the most part, we're not getting rewarded like we are in video games on a consistent basis. So when we're outside in real life, we don't get happy the same way anymore because we've had our happiness pushed up and up and up and up and up with those triggers of reward, reward, reward. Don't say reward too many times too fast. That's a mouthful. So we're just numbing out our lives, and we do it in other formats. There's tons of other ways that we numb out, whether it's drugs, alcohol, pornography. There's many ways that we numb out. But there's other ways that we add toxicity into our lives as well. We add in things like social media, where we're constantly comparing ourselves to other people, and we follow groups that have toxic elements to it. We get into arguments online with people that we don't even know. We do all of these things when we have complete and utter control over what we engage in or what we allow on our screens. We're the ones that choose to turn off the TV. We're the ones that choose to turn off the video game. Or we're the ones that choose to unfollow people who aren't serving our mental health. But instead, we just keep engaging in it. We keep that negativity and toxicity going around in a big circle. We should be playing games with our families, right? I mean, maybe not Monopoly or Risk. Those are pretty heated, but if you get into some good card games like maybe Crazy Eights or Skippo, or play a little Snakes and Ladders or something like that, like those type of games, build a puzzle together. There's a lot of really amazing games out there, and that's just quality family time. Read a book and allow your imagination to be the one to dictate what it sounds like, what the pictures look like, what does the main character, what do they look like, It's, you know, you build the scenes, you build the environments, and, you know, that level of creativity, that's is so much better than numbing out on whatever someone else has created in TVs, in movies, and, you know, even in our feeds, all the memes that we're seeing and stuff. Um, so yeah, those are just some better activities that if you engage in them long enough and stop engaging in, say, the rewards that you're getting from video games, you'll get a better grasp on what your like where your happiness level sits. Um, but you know, we keep comparing ourselves to everybody else, and we see these snapshots of their lives where they look healthy or they look happy or they look successful. And I'm sure there's lots of posts of mine in which I look all of those. And that's not to say that I don't define myself as happy or healthy or successful, but that doesn't mean that I am also not somebody who has anxiety, depression, panic disorder, complex PTSD, functional neurological disorder, and potentially MS. I have those diagnoses, and that's a fact that I have to work with on a daily basis, and I have to be kind and acknowledge those. And each day that I practice and I continue to do the calming techniques, and each day that I continue to change my thoughts from being negative or, you know, interrupt a negative or toxic, unhealthy coping mechanism and replace it with a healthy one, I know that I'm one step closer to living without having the interference of panic at all. But it's something that's going to take quite some time. And, you know, whether it's ever truly gone, I'll have to tell you in time. But I do know that when you meditate and you eat right and you exercise and you pay attention to your thoughts and you pay attention to your heart, so you follow your bliss and you lead with love and you're compassionate and kind and you serve other people, that it makes you feel better. So I'm lucky because I have gotten to speak to numerous people, and I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I've had a positive impact in people's lives. And that's what keeps me tuning in, and that's what keeps me creating content, and that's what keeps me showing up on Trauma Talk and putting my heart out there, is because those little moments when I'm reaching out to somebody and I know that I've given them a technique that can allow them to calm down, or I've given them the power to make a phone call, or I've helped them find a way to speak to their doctor, or I've done, you know, any one of those things to help them to just have a better life, that's what keeps me going and makes me happy. And I feel so incredibly blessed, and I'm so grateful and thankful that you're here. So thank you for watching and tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you in episode 7 of Trauma Talk next week. In the meantime, you can catch me on Mind, Body, Spirit, Healthy, or under Tanya Baldwin. I am the one standing with my husband. There's an older profile that I need to eventually deal with, but not presently. Anyway, follow your bliss, lead with love, and I'll see you next week.